is up, people? It's Untaker Productions and insert copyrighted Transformers animated Blitzwing scene here. Yes, folks, it's that time again, and today I'm going to be taking a look at the Transformers Studio Series, Transformers Legacy Leader Class Blitzwing, or should I say, forget it, let's just jump into the review already. And this time we're going to be starting off in the tank mode, which is the mode he comes packaged in, the correct way if you will. And the Japanese Type 74 inspired assault tank mode looks great. Although right off the gate, there is something I do have to point out, which is actually accurate to Blitzwing's tank mode at G1, and here's proof of that up to this clip from my G1 out of context video. But it's not supposed to protrude this far from the front. I can look past it, as well as the obvious rocket thrusters on the back, which you can have some fun with them. And just to keep this train chugging, whoops, wrong character, let's just cover the accessories now. So to start off, you get not one, but two SMGs. I'm assuming they're submachine guns anyway. And the sculpting on it is really good, and it's cast in a midnight-ish purple, which does kind of look bland on its own, and I think maybe some paint on it to pick out the finer details might have benefited it. You get this sword, which looks really good with some beautiful silver on the blade. However, it's made of a soft plastic, which, if you may or may not know, was probably done for legal reasons with some restrictions Hasbro had with designing these figures. So I can totally look past this thing being made of soft plastic. And finally, you get these massive missile racks, which these will come into play a little bit later, so we're not going to go into much detail right now. And yes, all of this stuff can be stored in tank mode, which looks completely ridiculous, but the missile racks on the turret and the guns on the side, to me in the very least, actually makes sense, just to make him look more beefed up. But the sword doesn't really have much place to go, but anywhere there's a 5mm port, you can store the sword. And of course, articulation on this tank mode is all that's necessary, including the turret rotation, and the actual cannon can move up and down. For whatever reason, it has stopping points? There is no working treads, but there's plastic wheels on the bottom that lets him loudly glide along the ground as he's about to snipe Hot Rod off the face of Lookout Mountain. Now it's transformation time! The transformation from tank mode to jet mode is pretty straightforward, but at times it can be a tad bit scary. And the McCoy and Gravish MiG-25 inspired jet mode is friggin' chunktastic. Now, at first I thought all of this underside bulk was completely inaccurate to the real fighter jet, and that's coming from someone who's more familiar with the fighters of America. But to my surprise, after looking up some images, this top half of the bulk is actually completely accurate to the real thing. Of course, that excludes the tank treads and the turret as the undercarriage, which is partially accurate to his G1 appearance as far as referencing to this image goes. And the actual painting and sculpting on this jet mode is great, especially with that clean and crisp silver, which is way more than I could say for Studio Series Sideways. Of course, this thing isn't completely accurate to the real jet because it's missing the tail fins behind the wings, but I do not know if they could have engineered it in without compromising the robot mode. Now, I'm curious if any of you noticed I haven't flipped down the landing gear at all. Yes, this jet mode is so back heavy that the jet can stand up on its own without the use of the front landing gear, which that can't be correct, right? Yes, there is actual landing gear, which is also pretty much useless since it barely makes contact with the ground, and this thing can balance perfectly fine on its own anyway. Again, yes, it's that back heavy. Now, weapon storage for the jet is either really clever, like having the guns below the wings as armaments for the actual jet, or very wacky, like having the missile racks as turbojet engines. And one more thing before we get down to the grand finale, I'd like to give you a quick comparison with the other jet formers in my collection. Those being Earthrise Starscream, Studio Series Shatter, and just because he was at my disposal, Revenge of the Fallen Mindwipe. And now it's transformation time once again. The transformation from jet mode to robot mode isn't that complex, but be sure you do things in the correct order. Robot mode looks like Blitzwing. That's actually a little bit of an understatement because the robot mode is very, very well done. And as far as I can see, besides the faux wings on the back, everything seems like it's where it's actually supposed to be. And I do like how Hasbro made an effort to cover up the hollow spaces on his arms where his hands go for alt mode, which the illusion could have been done a little bit better, and it probably would be ideal if this panel could actually plug it in some way. But besides that, I'm glad they tried to make at least an effort for it. Besides that nitpick, the robot mode looks really good. Now, here's something I want to address that I don't commonly do. That is plastic quality. Now, I'm no Chefatron, but for the most part, he feels very durable. Of course, it's not the great durability from something for 2009, aka the Revenge of the Fallen toy line, but Blitzwing Heroes feels pretty dense and solid. However, do you see that on the figure's left wing hinge? What you're looking at now is a cracked hinge which was there ever since I opened this guy. And I didn't even do anything to it, and the box, I'm not sure, but I don't think it really got jostled around during transit. But what a damn shame. But I won't take off too many points for that, because after handling this guy for about a month and a half, the hinge is held up, and I hope it won't break any further. I also hope I didn't jinx it right there. And as far as accessories, you can arm this guy up to the brim as you'd expect, and you can store the sword and guns on his person. However, there's no real good place for the missile racks to go. And for Jet and Robot mode, you'll want to take the missile gauntlets and take out the hands and plug them into the front, and then they become these missile gauntlets? Which, if you wanted to, you could totally do this. That's a bit overkill, don't you think? That's kind of the reason why I think this guy'd make a good rival for Ironhide. Just bear this in mind. If you plan on putting these things on Blitzwing, there is a specific way they have to go on. Moreover, a specific side they lock onto. Though these things do not hold on super securely, but they have... Let me just show you. Back here, you may be able to see that there is a little groove for this forearm handle to sit into. So you want to be sure that the 5mm peg is below the forearm and this square peg is on the top of the arm, which I find this is the way it holds in the most securely, even though it doesn't hold it super well. And just an FYI, no, not even MGO talked about this, or Grinder Studios, or any other review of Legacy Blitzwing that I've seen. Either they may not have known, or the instructions just are useless towards that. Now let's cover the articulation. So there is a ball joint at the head with a pretty expressive range of movement. The head can rotate a full 360. Utilizing this hinge at the neck, he can look up that far and down not at all. And he has a pretty decent range of head pivot. These panels on the shoulder pads can move forward to accommodate the arm rotation, which can move forward not that much. Can't really move back at all. The arms can move out, and if you unclip the shoulder pad, you can move it out a little further without it looking severely disjointed. Bicep swivel, bend at the elbow, wrist swivel, and you can utilize the transformation hinge to get some inward movement, and you could use this for sword pointing poses if you wanted to. Waist swivel, the front skirts can move up, legs can move forward about that far, they can't really move back at all, and the legs can move out pretty far. Thigh swivel, very good bend at the knee. Fortunately, no up or down at the foot, but he has an ankle tilt. Articulation on Blitzwing is very good. Though the shoulders could have been designed so the shoulder pad can either rotate independently or just rotate with the arm, but I can understand why they made it work the way it does. And besides that, this guy is very buildable and a pretty fun time to play with. Now it's time for size comparisons, and Blitzwing here is a pretty big boy. Here's Legacy Blitzwing compared to next to the Figma Kyoko Sakura and Saika-Miki, Figma Saber 2.0, Studio Series Dark of the Moon Shockwave, SH Monster Arts Biogoji, MPM Barricade, New Age Mista, my last review Studio Series Sideways, and the only other Legacy figure in my collection, Legacy Deluxe Wild Rider. Now as far as the box goes, you get some character art of Blitzwing in both of its modes: Decepticon Blitzwing, Transformers Legacy, 4 different ligatures of Leader Class, officially licensed Hasbro and Takara product. On this side, you get a Legacy artwork, and of course, authentic Transformers Legacy. On this side, you get Blitzwing in 2 of its modes. On the top, Transformers Legacy. On the bottom, use distinct barcodes. And on the back, you get the product images, translated to 32 and 41 steps, Decepticon Blitzwing Evil Fusion, QR codes, and so on with my concluding thoughts on Legacy Leader Blitzwing. He is an excellent figure. Of course, that jet mode is as chunk-tastic as ever, but the tank mode and robot mode and the crap ton of accessories makes up for it, in my opinion at least. In general, with all the flaws, he's still an awesome figure. In my opinion, up there with SS the Fallen for being that great of a figure. Except for the jet mode. Now on with the second to last question of the review. Where can you place your order and the price of admission? This figure is being sold on Big Bad Toy Store, Walmart, TF Source, Amazon, and of course, eBay. I got this figure from Amazon for the typical leader price point of $55, which I'd say is a reasonable price for as good of a figure as it is. But would I personally recommend it? Well, if you're willing to put down $50 to $60, then I'd probably say go for it. Though I am hoping sometime in the future we can get a brand new Astro Train and maybe even a new Octane to complete the Triple Changer trio. That actually has kind of a good ring to it. So that officially concludes my review on the Transformers Legacy Leader Class Blitzwing, and as always, I will see you all in my next video. Peace out!